Hey guys, it's Karen, my review for Celebrity Big Brother 2, Episode 9. And understandably, coming off the heels of the last episode, I was not really looking forward to this one very much at all. The show itself, this season, it's just been kind of a disaster. It's been just not really any good gameplay, and it's also gotten really personal. And, you know, especially with what we got last week with all of just the nastiness between Lolo, Tom, Kato, and Natalie, I was hoping that that would come to an end here, and you know, honestly, to an extent it did. It definitely did. It wasn't nearly as uncomfortable to watch as it was last week, but I will say right now, can we please not do an episode like this ever again? I mean, this episode was kind of a mess. There was so much stuff that they could have covered, and unfortunately they just didn't. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, there is a lot that you can get out of another hour. And I really do think for an episode like this, where they were doing an HOH, a POV, and an elimination ceremony, you know, that probably should have been a 2-hour episode, but I guess, I don't know, something's going on at CBS and they didn't do that, and I do think it was a detriment to this episode overall. So like I said, there's not really a lot to talk about going on strategic-wise. A lot of this episode revolves around the competitions that are being played. However, there are still some things to talk about. The big thing is, of course, the aftermath of Joey leaving. Now, since Joey has left, the house has basically been split into two significant factions. You have Tom, Kato, Dina, and Kandi on one side, and then you have Ricky, Natalie, Lolo, and Tamar on the other. And you know, I like that they are working together. I like that we have some semblance of some sort of teamwork going on, because that, I think, has been a real big problem with this season, is that none of the alliances have actually stuck. The only alliances that have actually been able to see it through to the end are Tom and Kato and Natalie and Lolo. But that's not even an alliance. That's just like a ride or die sort of situation. There have been no alliances this season. It's just been very odd overall. And, you know, I like that we are starting to see some semblance of that. Granted, it is towards the end of the game, but I like that we are starting to see that. And as a result, we see that Natalie and Lolo, they are very adamant about Tom and Kato leaving. They are really pushing for them to go next, and Tamar and Ricky seem to be 100% on board with that. They don't want them there either, and you know, even though Tamar is not on Kandi's side right now, you know, she's a number for her, and she knows that she needs to keep Kandi around, and I'm glad that Tamar did have the sense to do that. But again, I liked that the Lolo and Natalie stuff, we did not get as much of that. You know, we can see that these two, they're still really trying to campaign for Tom and Kato to go. And look, I understand they want them out, but they want them out for the wrong reasons. They don't want them out because they're good game players or that they're a threat. No, they want them out because they're intimidating and that they made them upset and that they betrayed them or whatever. When once again, all of that stuff is just complete hypocritical nonsense. I mean, if anyone betrayed them, it's Lolo and Natalie. Those are the two that really did betray them in the end, and you know, I really don't understand their whole reasoning here. Like, I get it that Tom didn't want to work with Ricky, but again, they could have gone about this in such a different way, and I think this week would have played out a lot differently had that have happened, and I think it really is hurting this season a lot, for sure. I think that the four of them, they could have actually worked really well together, but between Lolo's emotions and just the constant just shit-talking that they're doing, unfortunately, there's no way to repair it, and it is unfortunate, like I said, considering what does end up happening here. Now, even though we do have like two very separate groups, that doesn't mean some of them are converging, because Tamar and Kandi are actually very close. And Kandi actually pitches to Tamar that they might want to try to get Natalie and Lolo out next. That, you know, these two, they are basically running the entire game. And she's absolutely right. I mean, these two, most of the decisions in the house have been in their favor, have been things that they have wanted. And, you know, we realized that, yes, they wanted Kandi out, but they realized that it would have made far more sense to get Joey out and keep Kandi around. And even though things worked out the way Tom and Kato wanted, it did not go the way they anticipated. They actually expected for it to be like a tiebreaker sort of situation, and Tom would have had to break the tie. Nevertheless, it didn't turn out that way, and we see Kandi is really trying to pitch for Natalie and Lolo to go. We see she is definitely not on their side. And Tamar in general, while she seems to be firmly towards the Natalie, Lolo, and Ricky side, I think she definitely does favor them more. That doesn't mean that she isn't working with Kandi as well. She's definitely not working with Tom and Kato. She wants them out, and they're very adamant about that. But you can tell that Tamar is trying to work with Kandi. That's sort of like someone she's secretly working with, and I do like that. I still don't think Tamar is really that great at playing this game, but she definitely has gotten better, and especially from a strategic perspective, which I do like seeing. But now, of course, we do get to the HOH comp, which Tamar actually ends up winning, which was very surprising to see. The way the whole HOH comp was done, it wasn't really anything that incredible. It was just Tom reads off something, and like the two of them face off. We've seen this before. It's really nothing that incredible to talk about. But Tamar does end up winning HOH, which was interesting to see, and I don't really know why she went for it. I mean, she has this power. She's already safe. Why did you need to win HOH? I don't really understand why she felt like she needed to be the one to do that. Again, I'll take it over a Natalie or Lolo HOH because that would have just been an absolute, just complete chaos. Even more so than what we got last week. It would have been even crazier, I think. So Tamar winning, sure, it does die down a lot of the ridiculousness of what was going on. But I just don't really understand why she felt like she needed to win. And again, things do go out in her favor for the most part. Like, it's not really a detriment to her game, but she really did not need to win this. Who I actually want to see win is Kandi. I really wanted to see her get HOH because I feel like she had a really good pitch. And to me, personally, I think Kandi's actually playing the best game right now. She seems to be the most level-headed. She's the most focused on the game. And she seems to be she's very articulate and she's calm. And I think that, in general, is actually going to take her really far. And I know she hasn't really done a lot, but she is starting to prove that she actually is a legitimately really good house guest. And I feel like if the season was longer, she really could have shown her potential. And I like what I've been seeing from her. So Kandi's the person that I really do want to see go forward, because the more I see of her, the more I am really starting to like her a lot more, and I'm hoping we get to see more of that. But either way, going to Tamar's HOH, it's pretty obvious that the nominations are going to be Kato and Tom. But again, one of the things that was disappointing about this episode is Tom brings up the fact that even though he knows that the two of them are going to be targeted, he's going to try to stick it out. Well, that's great, but we never get to see that, unfortunately. And again, goes back to that idea that an extra hour would have added a lot here. We could have seen Tom go to Tamar, try to talk it out, and I would have enjoyed that. It would have shown that he is a fighter, he's not going, and I'm sure I know he did do that. Like, that's something they easily could have shown, but again, because they only had a limited amount of time, they were not able to do that. And the rest of the episode is basically just, we get the nominations, which are Tom and Kato. We don't really see much strategy going on Tamar's side, and that's what was disappointing here. I actually wanted to see some of the strategy that was going on, how she really felt here, but unfortunately, we don't really get to see that at all, because it just cuts from that to the POV, and this POV was kind of disappointing, because I really like the idea of this POV. They all get to watch Gallagher, this comedian, and, he's throwing things at them and things like that. Tom and Kato are having a great time. And this veto was basically tailor-made for them. Them being two just absolute goofballs in the house and, people who just love to joke around and things like that. You would have thought that they would have easily won this. But no, somehow Lolo ends up winning, which, I wasn't too happy about that at all. But I just don't really understand how they did not win this. How is it that Tom or Kato somehow didn't win this. This did not really make a lot of sense to me, and I especially would have liked to see that because the plan initially was for Natalie to be the replacement. It's that they would put Natalie up, Natalie would go, and again, this was all Kandi's pitch. This was something that Tamar was honestly probably on board with doing. You know, she was going to show her loyalty, but she would not have been against the idea of putting up Natalie, and I actually would have liked to see that, because I do think Natalie is a legitimate threat. Lolo, no. Lolo, sure, this is the first competition she's won, but Lolo she's not going to win this game. She is way too, she's just, I think, way too vocal about everything. She's way too volatile in the house, and there's just no way that she is going to win this game. Natalie, on the other hand, does actually have a pretty convincing argument as to why she can win the game, because she is very likable, because she was at the hand of many evictions. So if they don't get her out soon, I feel like Natalie could end up winning this entire thing, and I don't want to see that happen, but again, that's not how it pans out. Lolo does win POV. She, of course, doesn't use it, and then we get to the eviction, which, surprisingly, Kato is the one who ends up leaving, which was honestly really surprising to me. I think ultimately this is due to the fact that Kato was just a lot more louder in the house in terms of, you know, his comments and things like that. Tom, it's not like Tom didn't say anything, because he did say things for sure, but I feel like he was just a little bit more subdued, whereas Kato was the one who would get into a lot more fights with Lolo. You know, we know that fight he had with her when he asked her if she can act and things like that. So I think that is due in part to why he ended up leaving and not Tom. And I do think that is a good idea too, because I feel like Tom has a much better chance of staying than Kato ever did. I feel like Kato on his own would not be nearly as strong without Tom, Tom on his own. I think definitely they did make the right choice here. I liked what we got to see from Kato. I don't really think he's a good player at all, but compared to the other stuff we've been getting, I've liked Kato, and I liked what we've been getting from him, and it is going to be sad to see him go, but I did like when he talked to Julie and said, like, him and Tom are going to be friends from here on out. That was definitely nice to see, and his response to Julie, why he worked with Lolo and Natalie, that was great as well, but either way, that's really how things kind of end here. So, moving forward, there is still stuff to talk about for sure. The biggest thing I want to talk about is Kandi, because I really like where Kandi's head is at. I like that she is sort of kind of working with everyone at this point, but the two people she seems to be the most allied with are Tamar and Tom, and those are the two people she needs to stay close with. Lolo and Natalie, she clearly wants out, and definitely, like I said, her head is in the right space, for sure. I think of all the house guests right now, she seems to be the one that is the most strategic, that is the most level-headed, and I like where she's coming from. I'm hoping that she can carry out this plan to get out Natalie, because it's not impossible. It actually makes a lot of sense to get her out. It would make far more sense to get her out than Lolo, because again, getting Lolo out, Natalie is still just as powerful. But if you have Natalie out, Lolo is not nearly as powerful without Natalie, because Natalie really is the one that's kind of keeping her in check in that way, and I think definitely getting Natalie out, that is the right thing to do. So I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. As far as Tom, like I said, I think Tom is going to last in this game. I think he is going to go a lot further. I think he's probably going to make it into the top 5 at this point. If I had to predict the top 5 right now, I think it's going to be him, it's going to be Kandi, it's going to be Dina, and it's going to be Tamar, and then it's going to, one more, it's probably, who else is there? Let me think. And not Ricky, because I know Tom wants to get Ricky out, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone. I don't know who. Oh, Lolo. Yeah, Lolo will probably be in the top 5 as well, unfortunately. But the next episode is a double eviction, thank God. As much as I was disappointed by this episode, which it wasn't as terrible as I think it could have been, still a really bad episode that just, there was so much strategy that we could have seen, and the majority we got was basically from Kandi, was her talking to Tamar, which again, they showed the right things there, but I would have liked to see a bit more strategy from Tamar. I would have liked to see where her head is at, because we just did not really get to see that, unfortunately. And I'm glad that the next episode, which is a double eviction, is actually 2 hours. It makes a lot of sense to do that. There's a lot to cram into those 2 hours, and I'm excited to see where they do go with that. There is an episode before that, but the next live eviction I'm saying is 2 hours, and I'm glad that that is happening. They also said the finale is going to be 2 hours, so I think this is going to continue the tradition where the seasons that aren't the best have really great finales. So that's probably going to happen as well. Either way, I'm liking what I'm seeing a little bit more than I was initially. Still not loving the season or anything like that. I'm not really even on the like level, but there's potential considering what we got with Kandi and where her head is at, and you know, how the house is basically divided into 2 separate groups right now. I foresee this going in an interesting direction. I'm excited to see where things do go from here on out. You know, we don't really know what's going to happen moving forward, and I really do think anything could happen. You know, maybe in the double eviction, we get Natalie out, but we also get Tom out, or maybe we get Ricky out, and we also get, like, Dina out. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here, and I'm excited to see how things do turn out here. But that's really for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. For all of your thoughts on it, did you feel it was as rushed as I did? But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.